how you were trying to balance streaming and real life, because obviously that pressure is there to not miss a day of your schedule and put time in away from stream to try and improve things as much as you can. So can you try to talk a little bit about that balance that you had at that point in time?
Yeah. Pretty much that time, that whole transition, going from PUBG, started streaming Ring of Elysium, and my viewership going up. I was streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week. Started at so it was 7:30. Then I moved it to 8, and I would stream till 2 a.m. 5 days a week.
Right.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot. And once some of those things started, it builds up pressure. It just does. Um, Once some of that started coming in, I had a epiphany, I guess, and realized that I need to sit down and work all this out. First step was I put together a new Google account, a Gmail account, and I created a calendar, and I sat down and went over my stuff that I had to do, work, every family stuff, that kind of stuff, and I threw all that stuff in the calendar, and then I tried to fit streaming into that. Um, I made a rough pass before that happened, outside of that calendar, where I tried to write down the days I was streaming and then fit everything else in. That crashed and burned in my face, and it wasn't good. So I had to fit that stuff around. And then I said, okay, well, I got a schedule. Okay, now I need to do all the graphic design for the schedule. So then I have to create all that, and I have to put that out on social media. And then I have to keep up with that schedule. And I don't have a paid assistant at that time, and neither do I now, to do all this stuff for me. So you have to do all this stuff. So you have to figure out, how are you going to publish all this stuff to the people that you're wanting to interact with. And then getting all the other stuff organized. You got to pay for graphics. You're going to make your graphics. Are you going to have somebody cut and edit your videos? You're going to make your videos. And there's so much to do. It was just a lot of little micromanaging yourself and coming up with a game plan that I did well with, for a while.
You absolutely did, and things were going so well. At what point did it become unsustainable?
I got to this, I don't know, I got to this point where, what I kind of warned folks, you asked me, what would be the one thing that I'd tell, new streamers to what to do, um, is I let streaming take over all my time. If I wasn't streaming, I was editing. If I wasn't editing, I was doing graphic design. If I wasn't doing graphic design, I was on social media creating posts or talking or interacting with other streamers. If I wasn't doing that, I was online looking and searching analytics. That takes up a lot of time, a lot of time. And when you work a full time job plus you're streaming, you don't have any other time. I
Mm-hmm.
was for 6 7 months. I think I was sleeping 3 and 4 hours a night max. That was
Right.
it, weekends included. And I started having trouble, not physically but more mentally, breaking from a cycle of, I'm going to stream instead of go somewhere with my family, or I'm going to stream instead of hang out upstairs and watch a movie with my wife. I started focusing so much on being down here in my studio streaming that, I was putting things that were much much more important to me, on the side, and that's what ultimately led me to have to take a lengthy break.
So, at what point, like, how did you go about making that choice to take that lengthy break? Like, can you talk us through that, maybe just that the week leading up to you making that decision? You know what I mean? Like, how did, like, because I know, knowing you fairly well, I know how deeply you care about your community and how deeply you enjoy streaming and how much you want to be successful and how hard you work on it. So, how did that decision come to pass? Like, I know you just kind of weighed out the pros and cons and how things were going great and the negative side of things. How did that kind of leading up to your actual decision? Like, what was that like for you?
Hard. You start wrestling with it in your head. If you're the type of person like me, where you know you keep a lot of things to yourself, and My wife will tell you that it was very hard to get me to be a little bit more open and talkative with her about stuff. I grew up in a different way or similar way, depending on who you are. But I did a lot of things for myself. So I've always done that. And dealing with things like that, I dealt with myself as well. Um, I got very closed off and had to think. And when I get to that kind of stuff in my life, I don't shut off, but I like to have my like a lot of a space. I have to have space. I've got to go somewhere where I can think and go over things, whether it's, literally like reading something that somebody else is talking about that's in a similar situation, or seeing other points of views of it without somebody asking me questions about it and talking to somebody about it. I work things out much easier. But that week was rough. I knew it was coming. I knew what I had to do. When you start when you start having conversations with the people that you love, and they're different, because you can tell that there's some tension, that there's something wrong there that's never been there before. You realize something's going on. So it wasn't hard for me to press the pause button. What was hard was trying to let go and actually take that break. The easiest part was not turning the stream on. The hardest part was me not getting on social media or Discord or any of those other things and keeping up with what was going on. That was tough. And
Right.
it was like, I had to play a disappearing act for a little while. And I had to do that for me and my family and my mental health. Just
Like you
had to.
you had to cut it, it wasn't cut out some of it. You had to cut all of it out.
Yeah, I
Right.
did.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, that was definitely noticeable for sure, because I know, yeah, you were super, super active on everything. And then it was very much, it was radio silence, which I was curious, very curious about, as to like the reasoning behind that. And that just makes absolute perfect sense.